Hey,
Hi.
how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I love your two-tone hair. It looks so cool.
Thank you. Oh, I think I need to change my little description. It says like unboxing crystals. It's from an old thing.
I think it's okay.
Okay, cool.
They'll come in. They'll get the vibe.
Okay,
How
cool.
are you? I'm
I'm
glad that we're doing
amazing.
this.
I'm so
Oh.
excited. I like binge watch all your videos because I love a good conspiracy. I love it. I'm like so excited to be talking to you.
Oh, I'm so glad. And I love your stuff. You're always just like, I don't know, your energy is just so uplifting. Like every video that you do, it's so uplifting. I'm like, this is what we need more of.
Yay! Did you
Right? Like
see?
TikTok is a crazy place.
Oh my gosh, I can't even. Yeah, sometimes you get on the wrong side of it. You're like, get me out of here.
And it sits with you when you're on the wrong side. Like later on, you'll be just sitting in your house, like, that was heavy. Why am I
Yes.
still upset?
Yeah. It's yeah. Gotta get off of there and stay off.
And we're both doing tie-dye today. A little.
Same vibes.
Yeah.
Did you see the movie Nope?
I haven't seen it yet. I want to.
You gotta see it. You
I
gotta
know,
see
and I
it.
wanted to see it in the theater too, because it's just going to be better.
You gotta see it. It's totally your vibe. It's like, aliens, all that.
Did you like it?
I did. I actually made a TikTok about it because it reminded me so much of Sedona. Like the landscape, the stories. Sedona, they say like is a lot of like a hotbed for a lot of like ETs, UFO activity. So I was like, interesting.
So, how long have you been in Sedona, and have you seen anything weird in the sky?
Okay. Let me skip to the second question. Yes, but to backtrack, I just got here in May. Like it moved.
Oh,
I moved like
amazing.
out of nowhere. They say Sedona like just pulls you in. And a lot of the people I meet, they have a very similar story. Like that they didn't know, they visited one time then ended up moving. But so I just been here in May, and I've actually been looking for the ETs, like actively searching for them. Well, more so like the spacecraft, right? Because I'm not really about that life. Like I don't actually
You don't want
want
the one-on-one in the
no.
bedroom, when they
I
show up at the
pretend
foot of the bed.
Yeah, I pretend that I'm about that life, but not really. Like I would be like jumping out of my skin. So like I actually, what's crazy is that, so there was this mountain or like a hiking thing, a trail we went on, and there was this cave, and there was like this kind of really weird guy that came in the cave, and like I don't know, it kind of gave me like weird vibes. It just made me want to leave. I don't know. It was just very strange. He didn't speak to anyone. You could barely see his face. He's like very covered. Everyone that was there was like, well, this is weird. So he leaves, don't think anything of it. The next day, I'm on TikTok and I see they had made a post like a few days previous. They had been to the same cave. They had a video of like an ET.
Oh
They
my
had
God.
like an actual, like, it was, it was a little grainy, so you don't really know what you saw, but it was
It's always grainy when there's an ET or something. It gets
It's
grainy.
always grainy. It's always grainy. Like, so they had a video of it. They posted on their account, and it was the same exact cave that I was just in. And they said the person was like so just shook, like frightened and like whatever. And yeah, there's a whole. I have to send you the video, but I was like, I knew it was something about that place.
Do you think that guy was like human?
No, I don't.
No.
I don't. Oh, hi, Spears. How are you?
So when we do it live together, by the way, we're only going to see the comments from people who clicked on from our side. So if you want to answer a question, just read it out, because I won't see your side of comments, and then you don't see mine, which I wish we could.
Okay. I'm new to this. I don't know that. Okay, cool. I got you. But yeah, it's crazy.
Sedona's
so they
amazing.
also have like a lot of UFO tours out here, which I haven't been on. There's a lot of there's a place called the Bradshaw Ranch that I'm like obsessed with.
What is it?
It has a very crazy history. So, but to make it like very short, it was a ranch, that people owned, and it was fun. Most of the 60s, the government took it over maybe like 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago. They took it over. They kept hiking up the taxes so that the people on there just like could no
Oh,
longer
they
afford
pushed
the
them out.
property. They pushed them out because there was rumors, there were portals, like people would see sightings all the time. Like the kids, the locals in Sedona, they'll tell you that they would sneak onto the property as kids, you know, like they would sneak on like high school, and always men in black there.
Wow.
Always they would be escorted off. Like it was just crazy. Like all the stories, like every local has a story about that place.
Oh my God. So I've heard a lot of things. I've been to Sedona before. I have some friends that are Arizona outdoors people, so they've brought me to some cool places. Um, but I've heard about the Men in Black in Sedona, and what I've heard is that they are hybrids, that they are not humans, that they are basically,
I
and that's
Yes,
why
I've
sometimes
heard
people
that.
see them, that they say that sometimes they pop up out of nowhere and there's like an
Yes,
SUV, but the SUV didn't drive from anywhere.
that's
And
what
they
they
say that
said.
they kind of like appear out of nowhere.
That's
And
what they
sometimes they have
said.
like not many like features, like not very distinct features. And
I
then they're
gotta show you
gone.
this book. Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my
you're exactly right.
God.
Okay, so there must be something to this because everyone can't have the same story.
Right?
Everyone can't have the same story. So the book that I read the whole book about the Bradshaw Ranch, right? And one of the guys, like I was in like a random crystal shop, and he was telling me, I was like, "Do you know anything about this ranch?" He's like, "Let me tell you." So he he was one of the kids that like snuck on there at one point. He said there was a Men in Black up here, like you said, out of nowhere. There was like an orb of light that him and his friends were
Mm.
looking at. And he said it looked, he said it was the shape of a beer can, and it kept getting closer and closer. And they're just like, well, let's see what happens. But before they could, you know, see what happens, the Men in Black seemingly appeared out of nowhere. And there was one guy in the middle, and there was like maybe, I think, 4 or 5 other. They're all dressed in black suits. And none of the guys in the back talked. Then none of them spoke.
Mm.
And he said their body language, they all mirrored, like very closely mirrored the person in the front.
Wow.
And he said that only he spoke. It was almost like the others didn't speak. He got the feeling like they couldn't speak, or maybe they didn't understand English, or I don't know, like they didn't,
Wow.
nothing. And they basically, the guy said, asked them, "What are you doing here?" And he was so, oh, and they all had, I think, some type of AK. Like they all had, like they were strapped.
Wow. Of
So he was
course.
like, "Nothing, we're leaving, sorry." And none of the other guys spoke. And he said, like, "Come on, like come with me." And they escorted them like off the property. Mind you, oh no, the government didn't own the property at this time, I don't believe. So what are they even escorting them off of? So
Mm-hmm.
they escorted them off, and they followed them, he said, for about 30 miles out to
Wow.
make sure they were like off of it and not coming back.
That is so crazy. And that's what I hear too. Like they pop up out of nowhere and that they have
Yeah.
like a really weird energy that like people are just like, I need to get away. I just
Yeah,
go.
that it's not, they're not, that's what he said. He was like, I was like kind of like a wild in the high school, but I knew when they came, like, they're not to be played with. Like, I thought my life would have been in danger if I had like made a joke with them. He was like, I wasn't playing. I was just like, okay, we're leaving. I'm sorry.
It's so crazy. And so the other thing like about the portals that I've heard, I think I heard it on Cosmic Disclosure on Gaia, you know, one
I
of my
love that show. Yeah,
faves.
I love it.
And one of the guys on that show, Randy Kramer, he lives in Sedona. So he had a couple of like stories about stuff. And he said that basically, and they've said on other episodes that the government has taken all the portals. Like they didn't have control of all the portals before, but over the last several years, which is interesting that then 10 years ago that they like acquired that
Yeah.
all the natural portals they say now that they are like aware of and monitoring.
I believe that. I 100% believe that just from the stories. And it's weird because Sedona is like, it's a very small, so it's a very small town. I already know probably half the people who live here. It's like a retirement community essentially. But then there's tourism. So there's not that many people who actually live here. The people who live here, I think the median age is like 65 or something.
Whoa.
So what's interesting is that you get the same stories talking to all these different people, and these people aren't people who tend to be on social media or look,
Mm-hmm.
like it's interesting that their stories all match up. and they're not talking to each other. They're not online seeing like crazy conspiracy theories. So I feel like there's
Right.
something to it.
I do too, because I've kind of heard that like from so many different people, especially seeing stuff in the sky. Like people say the activity is insane.
Yeah, I've seen quite a few things. I'm actually getting a telescope so I can try to see more.
Fun. You
Yeah.
got to do something when you're out in the desert, you know? It's like you got to have fun.
And
Make
I
it
think what's
exciting.
cool too, they say, I forgot what the term is, something like I don't know, but they don't have any street lights. I don't think there's any street lights in Sedona because
Oh,
they're like
whoa.
a part of the society that wants to conserve like the night sky so you can really see. So you can really see everything.
Whoa. See, I've never been there at night. I've only been during the day.
Oh,
So
you
I
have to
do have to
come. We'll
go
have
and
like a
stay.
sleepover and get
Oh,
the
yeah.
telescopes and
Oh
like
my
look for
God.
things.
Oh my God, it'd be so fun. Like I love
Yeah.
Arizona too. Like, I mean, obviously the heat is something, you know, the heat
Yeah.
is a lot. The last time I was there was probably, I guess maybe the end of August I was there.
Really?
And I was visiting my friend in Phoenix,
Oh
and
yeah. Okay.
we went to Arco Santi. Do you know what Arco Santi is?
What is that?
So it's a experimental community that they started in the 70s. It's an off-grid community. It didn't become fully what it was supposed to become.
Okay.
Uh, but the foundation and like the concept and the idea and a lot of the models and stuff of like the way they did it is great. So like I don't know how far it is from you. It's
I love that. Well, Phoenix is like 2 hours, 2 hour drive.
yeah, and then Arco Santi we drove about an hour from.
Okay.
So I don't know in which direction.
Yeah.
And then I actually have like this really like I don't know if you'll see it. It maybe looks creepy. This like hanging thing.
Cool.
This
What is
hanging
that?
thing I bought there, and it's like a bell with like stained glass and like stuff
I
from the
love it.
desert. It was like an art piece, and I was like, you know what? I want to bring that off-grid energy into my home so
Mm.
that I
Yeah.
can build my own. So I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna buy this very expensive piece of art from this place right now.
I love that. That's so cool. Spears is saying more of a commune than a community.
So yeah, it is a bit commune. But the only thing is people don't last there very long, like a lot of the communes where people stay their whole lifetime. So because this is
Why don't
like
they last there? Wait, what? Why?
yeah, so I don't think that there's like a lot of space for a ton of people. Um,
Okay.
but also it's kind of like they have like a program. I think like you stay for like 6 weeks. So they have a
Mhm.
lot of people that will do like a short time, learn a
Oh,
bunch of the eco stuff from them and
got
learn
you.
things and
Yeah.
kind of they also like do like bronze and copper stuff there. So like, you know, it's Arizona, they got to do the
Yeah.
copper.
Yeah.
And so they do that, but I think it's just kind of like maybe not easy for people to stay for their whole life because
I
it's
got you.
also different where like a lot of times those eco communities are houses. This is interesting because it's like apartments. So it's like a city in the middle of the desert and it's all apartments and it's really cool.
That's great. That's wild.
I love it. Like I can't wait to go back because it was like I was kind of just taking it in the first time.
Yeah. See,
But I
now
was
I'm
like, I
gonna
really
have to
want to
take
go
a
back.
trip. Next time you go, hit me up. I'm gonna take the drive.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I would love. Have you ever gone to the Biodome too?
I've done nothing but stay in Sedona and eat food and look for aliens. That's what I've been
Hmm.
doing.
I mean, it's a good place to be. I love Sedona. It's just like,
Yeah.
and you've gone up to the Have you gone to like the vortexes and
I've
stuff?
been to all the vortexes. I've charged my crystals at the vortexes. I have like my favorite ones, and I'm a vortex girl. Like that's pretty much why I moved. I was like, I need to feel the vortex energy.
It's so cool. I've only gone to one, and
Yeah.
I didn't know
Which
like
one
because
did you
we
go
were.
to? Did you
Hmm.
go to the one that's like on a church? A lot of people go to the chapel.
No, I went to one that we had to like really hike, and my friend's very outdoorsy. I'm a city person, so we were like doing things that I was not comfortable with.
Cathedral Rock, maybe like Cathedral Rock or Bell Rock.
I
Those
did.
are
That's
two.
what it was. It was Cathedral Rock,
Yeah,
and
that's
we
a
were.
crazy hike. That's crazy. Yeah,
I was scared. I
they're
was like,
constantly rescuing like at least 3 times a week I'm seeing a helicopter go there. And I think they're rescuing people. Either that or they're picking up the aliens. But I think they're like rescuing
Oh my God. Thank
people.
God I didn't
They
get
get
rescued.
stuck up there.
That would have been so embarrassing. I'd be
All
like,
the
you know
time
what?
it
Just
happens.
leave me. I'll be too embarrassed. Just let me die. I'll just be embarrassed.
So
Don't
one of
save
the
me.
vortexes, it's called Chapel of the Holy Cross. Is what it's called in Sedona Chapel. And the story behind that is insane as well. So basically, there was this woman a long time ago. I don't know. I'm gonna mess up her name, Marguerite or something. She was saying that she had visions of building a church. Right? She's like an heiress essentially. She had a lot of money from pharmaceutical. Her family was in pharmaceuticals overseas. She's thinking, I need to build a church. She's traveling the world. Where can I find this church? She somehow comes to Sedona. She's like flying on her helicopter because she has money. And she's like, yes, this is the spot I will build my church. Right? And it was like very synchronistic the way it lined up. Like her family was in pharmaceuticals. So she saw a big RX carved into a rock. And she said, that's a sign I'm going to build my church here. So she didn't say this like publicly until much later, but she was channeling from, she never said where, but like higher, she would just say refer to like a higher dimension, and she wasn't really calling it God necessarily, but she was channeling, and she kept getting this message, you need to build this church, you need to build it. So anyway, she's flying in her helicopter, she sees RX carved into a rock. That's a sign, I'm going to build a church here. She jumps through all these hoops, pays a bunch of people off because it's owned by the government, like it's national forest land. Like they're like, girl, you can't build here. No. So she figures it out. She gets around all the red tape. She builds her church here. It's a portal. So now like the Native Americans, people who have been coming to this area forever, they know that's a portal spot. So she builds the church on the portal. The original, and you can find it online if you really dig, the original cross, it was a Catholic church, but technically it had to be like non-denominational in order to build it on this government land.
Oh, wow.
So it had to be accepting of all religions. But there's a cross, and the original cross in there, it looks like an alien. It's not human. It's not human. Like when you look at the picture of the original, I have this like on a TikTok somewhere, but I'll send it to you. The cross, it literally looks like something otherworldly. Like the body is so skinny. You're like, this is not any depiction of the Christ that I've ever seen. Like it's just it's so.
So it was
weird.
like a crucifix, but it's
a big, like, yeah, like, so there's a huge,
but the Jesus person on it was not looking like
it's so weird. Like the legs are so long, the feet are so, it just looks like it, like I got chills when I saw it, right? So I took a tour because I'm very touristy, and my tour guide is showing me this. He's been in Sedona his whole life. He's like, I remember when this cross was here, right? And he's like, and one day I came back and it was just gone.
Interesting.
It was gone. You can't find it in any of their like original like their publications. When you go, you can't find it. Wow. They waited until she died, because remember, this is her vision. She said, no, this is what the cross needs to look like. And everyone was like, girl, this is creepy. And she's like, no, this is my vision. So they waited till she died. They took it down. They burned it, like broke it up into a bunch. It's crazy.
Oh my God.
They broke it up into a bunch of pieces, buried it. Like it's crazy. They like really got rid of it. And they, now if you go into the church, there's a typical, what you're used to seeing.
Regular cross.
Regular, and they won't even talk about it. Like you can't find it in any brochures. When you're looking at the building process, all of that is like cut out of it.
That is so weird. Like, why were they so afraid of it? Like, I mean, maybe because of their beliefs, but also they knew it was a safe place for them to be. Why would they be afraid of it?
The fact that they didn't just take it down and say, okay, we don't like it. No, the lengths they went to destroy it. I was like, this is something.
They're like, they burn it. They start shooting it after it's burnt. Like crazy shit. Like,
yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was, that story. And when I saw the original thing, I literally got chills, not in a bad way. It just felt like, ooh, this is otherworldly. I see what she was channeling. Like, this was something else.
There's a lot of people who say, and I don't really know, it's not really my area of belief, but like a lot of people do say that Jesus was an alien, and a lot of people say it was from the planet Sirius. And I'm like, I really don't know. I think it's interesting. I think it's possible. I mean, we're all probably aliens,
I mean, there's that theory too, like a little hybrid, a little DNA experiment. Someone's saying, what are we talking about? We are talking about conspiracies, and the current one is the church, the Chapel of the Holy Cross in Sedona.
In Sedona. Wow.
Wait, so now I want to ask you. I want to ask you a question. What made you start this whole deep dive into conspiracies? Like what was your first one? Like what was the one that got you into it?
So I have a couple of first conspiracies from childhood. And then my other first conspiracy was like when I became full blown, like I thought I was losing my mind that moment. That's why I also have sympathy for a lot of the spiritual psychosis that's going on, because it's also part of like, I mean, it's not everyone is going through spiritual psychosis. Some people are just having other issues. But then sometimes I'm also kind of like, we all go through a little polarizing, crazy time of our spiritual awakening. It's just most of us did that in private.
Yeah.
We're not we were not weighing in on it publicly when we were going through that moment. Which also too, when you're kind of going through it publicly, it makes it a little bit more. But at that time, so my first conspiracy was from an AOL chain letter back in the 90s.
Oh, an AOL chain? Oh my God, do tell me.
My mom sent it to me because she didn't want to get bad luck. My mom would always be forwarding me a ton of chain letters, giving me the bad luck.
Yeah.
So the first one was the whole, the Beatles one, the one that like Paul is dead. Paul is not the original Paul.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember like back, my mom sent me a chain letter. It was in the chain letter. So then I started looking it up, and I remember I was looking on like Yahoo GeoCities, and I was watching, and they were playing "I Am the Walrus" backwards, and I was like, "It says it." Even though I saw that got big on TikTok like a couple months ago, and I was like, "Did it?" That was my first one. Yeah. And also in that same like chain letter time, there was one about how basically everything that happened to JFK is exactly what happened to Lincoln, and they match up the dates, the times, the names, the things, and everything is like so parallel that it's like, I should have known then something was up.
Yeah, I don't know did you make a TikTok about this one?
I never have. No, this is like my 90s. This is me before the AOL days conspiracies. And then my first one that like then kind of like started this path, and I've talked about it before on like my YouTube and stuff. I had like a UFO experience when I was younger. So like I've always believed since I was younger, but I was a little bit cautious of spirituality just because I also grew up where like my grandmother, she did like a lot of like dark magic, like hexes and curses and stuff. Huh. So I grew up around a lot of that. So I was actually kind of afraid. I believed, but I was afraid of like, oh, no. I don't manipulate the outcome of anything. Yeah. Because this is...
you saw what it could do.
I was afraid of even going to like a crystal store when I was younger because I was like, oh, no. I've seen things. I don't want to see anything else. Wow. But my first then conspiracy was... I got into an argument with this guy. I was working in a weed shop, and he was a customer who used to come in all the time. And I don't know, he started telling me about like basically, when he was younger, he had a record deal. They wanted him to do stuff. He didn't do it. They took back the record deal. And then he's like, everyone's in on it. And I'm like, who's everyone? Everyone? And I start like fighting with him. We literally get into a full-blown argument. And then he's like, all the presidents are related. Don't you know that? And I'm like, oh, come on, get out of here. And like, I physically removed him. I physically removed him out the door, pushed him. And from the other side of the door, he was like, they have a map of Atlantis.
I can only imagine. Like,
and I'm like, okay, buddy, there's a map of Atlantis. Whatever the hell Atlantis is. Okay, bye. And then I went home, and I Googled, are all of the presidents actually related? And then it was like a wave of like, for the next year, I was going through probably borderline psychosis of like, why is it all adding up? Why is it all true? Why is this all coming together? And then I pretty much, you know, went through, you go through that polarizing time of it when you first start learning about like conspiracies and stuff, because then you kind of, it's kind of like you learn everything is a scam. So you become super kind of messed up and paranoid.
You're just like paranoid. Like,
the food, the water,
it's
the
that
air,
chart.
this.
It's the guy, that meme with the guy with the like things on the wall. He's like, trying to explain.
Exactly. And then you're trying to tell your friends and they're like, you have a terrible outlook on life, man. Yeah. And you're like, because they're trying to kill us.
Now you're the guy outside that got pushed out and you're saying they have a
Yes. Then it became me. And then, you know, you kind of through it, you learn everything's a scam, but then you kind of eventually get to a point where you learn, oh, but it's all part of the game. It's okay. It's okay that everything's a scam.
They're saying, we have a lot of comments. They're saying, I have found my channel. This is so entertaining. I love this live.
Oh my God. And then what's crazy? So that guy, I pretty much barely saw him after that.
I was going to ask, did you ever see him again?
Well, he did come into the store regularly, but this was at the time that we were closing. So after that, I had never seen him again. In the year 2020, I randomly decided I needed to go to Mount Shasta, like today. I need to go to Mount Shasta. Yeah. And I go up there. It's a fucking blizzard. So it's not a great time to be like, I need to get in that mountain. Yeah. And like, then it was like the day after Christmas. And I was like with my ex at the time. And we were like, he's like, oh, that store's called Soul Connections. We should go inside. Yeah. There's a Pleiadian book in a discount bin in front. I'm like, oh, I want to get this. My name is written already in handwriting in the opening cover. The other name is one of my friend's names, who she has a super unique name. I've never met anyone with her name. And she has it spelled in a very unique way. One of the like testimonies of the book was from someone with her name. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. It's a sign, yeah. I go in the store and then I see the guy who I hadn't seen. I drove 9 hours to Shasta. It was like 9 years later. And then I'm like, hey, like you're this guy. We remember each other from when he was like, then he ends up telling me a whole bunch of new stuff.
Did he remember you?
He did, which was crazy because he remembered me too. And he was like, but he doesn't remember me really pushing him out. He's like, we always had great conversations. And I was like, sure, we had great conversations, man. I physically assaulted you. It was great for everybody involved.
Oh my gosh. So this is like years later, you run into this guy at Mount Shasta, which is like, they say it's like portal. One of the chakras of the earth. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's so crazy. He tells me, and I met him in Hollywood, where he lived here. I still live in Hollywood. Yeah. So then he lives there up in Mount Shasta now. I thought he worked at the store because he was going in the closet of the store. But then I was like, oh, like you work here? He's like, oh no, I just buy so much stuff and I can't fit all of it at my house. So they just let me keep it here.
I can't with him. He's so much. He's doing a lot.
I know. And then he told me a bunch of crazy other stories that I won't say here. But then he told me a bunch of other things and he was like, he knew I was like receiving it. He was like, oh, finally, it's going through this.
I've awakened her, finally.
Yes. So then it was like, that was just like the perfect thing that I was like, you know what, this is all.
I love that it came full circle. That's amazing.
And now exactly, I'm the crazy conspiracy person.
Someone's asking, are there any portals in California?
Oh, I think there's a lot. I think they're all over. I just don't know where they.
I don't know that Mount Shasta is considered a portal, but I know there is
some there.
There's like a vortex energy because of like the ley lines or something. The way it is, like it's definitely like a spiritual experience. I've never been there.
You haven't been yet. Oh, you're gonna love it. It's very kind of similar to Sedona in that feeling,
I've heard.
But it's a little bit more grand because the mountain is so powerful. You're kind of like, whoa. Yeah.
I've
I went
heard that
during a
it is
blizzard.
one of the chakras of the earth. I forget which one, but
I
they
think they say
say
the root chakra.
that would make sense then. Then it's very earthy. You're very connected. You grounded.
Yes, I love it. I need to travel to more of those places. I'm grateful that I've been to Shasta and Sedona, but I want to go to like these portals around the world.
Yeah.
I'm ready to accept that energy.
I want to see through. So one of the people, like in the book that I was reading about the Bradshaw Ranch in Sedona, they were saying that literally you could see dinosaurs. Sounds crazy. They were saying that you could literally see dinosaurs on the other side of this portal. One of the guys who said it too, he was like very much embarrassed about, because he's like a scientist. He's like very like, I don't believe in any of this. So he was like very embarrassed to even be saying this, because it's like this goes against everything. And then one person, or a lot of people said that you couldn't see it, and this reminded me of the movie Nope, that it wasn't visible. A lot of things weren't visible to the eye, but if they were to take like their camera and hold it up, you can see on the camera, but you couldn't see it visible to the eye, which I thought was interesting.
Wow. And that makes so much sense because when we talk about frequencies, this is
Exactly.
why some people perceive things that other people don't.
Yes,
Which is,
exactly.
I think that's like the big divide of the alien community, because you have some people that are more towards this consciousness side where you're like, well, you'll never have proof of aliens. What we see as UFOs are probably not even UFOs. We're just perceiving them as UFOs because our frequency can only understand that it's inside a ship, like a car, a flying car is the most we could understand.
Yeah.
And like, so it's kind of like, then there's the other side of like the ufologists who kind of, they're very much in like the measuring and the evidence and stuff. And they're not seeing that like the reason why some people see them and some people don't is because of the consciousness of the person.
Exactly. That was so well said. Exactly. I agree with that. And I don't get when it's almost like it's on just like a much lower basic level. It's like when you get like or you're looking for a new car or something, and you're like, oh, I want like an orange car, or you just get like an orange car, and you start to see that car, or you think you start to see that car everywhere. It's because it's in your awareness and you're looking for it, and you can, so it's almost, I mean, it's a totally different thing, but kind of a similar comparison.
It is.
In that what once it's in something is in your consciousness, you see it. If you're not paying attention to it, you won't even, it'll just pass you by.
And there's some people, some of my friends, this has happened to, that kind of once they started to dabble into like UFO information, it's like immediate that they start having encounters and contact.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's a lot of people that, because it's just, they just need that door a little open because they maybe already have the frequency, but maybe not like like you're saying, once you become aware of it, you can see it. So it's like they probably were already at the frequency, but they didn't have like the conscious awareness for it to be visible yet.
And I think too, because so like it's interesting that you said like your upbringing, because I grew up Baptist, right? So I have been like my entire life, I've been afraid of everything because everything is like that's demonic. Same with crystals, and I have a crystal shop now. But like I was afraid of everything, and I'm still unpacking a lot of that fear. But I what I learned and what comforts me is like sovereignty, right? And a lot of the different people that you speak to, like in like these fields, even like ex-military, they say, oh no, but you always have sovereignty, and you may not know that because the world may try to put you in a state of fear, but no matter what, you have your personal sovereignty. So you just need to claim that and assert that if you're ever in a position where you're afraid of anything going on around you. So I think too, a lot of the people that I know that are great mediums, channelers, have these experiences, they consent to it. They're actively looking for it. Like how you said, some things you don't even dabble in because you don't want to open that door. So I think a lot of times it is your choice to open that door. And you can decide and like have, like your choice of what you want to experience. So when I'm like doing my meditations, it's always beings of light and love. Don't bring me the dark stuff.
Yes.
Don't want to have any crazy, like I don't even like make that a possibility for me,
Exactly.
So I think it's like important for us to remember, like, yeah, there's like a lot of stuff out there, but also we're powerful and we're connected to everything else, and we can decide which experiences we want to like interact with.
And that's what I think is very interesting too, like coming from when you say you had like a Christian background, and it's like they don't give you the sovereignty to like have power, because the power is about surrendering. So a lot of times when it does come to things that are demonic, there's no power against them except, you know, calling Jesus's name is like the only power that you have. Yeah. But it's like, actually, you do have more power.
We're so powerful. And I feel, that's like the one thing that kind of like frustrates me a lot. I feel like with my religious upbringing, I'm like, dang, like I was out here feeling really powerless. And I'm not saying that everyone who grows up in a religion or still practices one feels that way. It's just unique to me. But I really felt powerless my entire life and scared of everything. And now I'm like, why didn't y'all tell me this sooner? Because I would have been out here hanging out with the aliens, like doing all kind of manifesting faster, better, like, you know.
So tell me about your spiritual awakening then. How did that shift in your life?
Yeah, so it's really crazy too, because so how you had the guy in your story who was like banging him or like getting pushed out of the store. So me and my brother are very close. He's 2 years older than me. He had his spiritual awakening before me. And I was still very much into like Christianity and the church. And he was like asking questions like, well, how do you know this? And then I'm like, well, because it's in the Bible, duh. Like, you know, like a very much, and he couldn't even talk to me about it. He's like, okay, I'll come back. Come back to you in a few years, right? And I was like, you just need to pray more. Like, you don't get it. And he was like, okay. So then fast forward maybe 2 years later, I was meditating. I just picked up a book by Wayne Dyer, because I was like just stressed out in life, and I wasn't looking for
love Wayne Dyer.
I love him. I wasn't looking for an awakening. I just was trying to make my anxiety calm down, right? So I started meditating, and I was doing it every day for like a month. And then my dad passed away out of nowhere completely. He was completely healthy, just like it was like a freak of nature thing, right? But before that, because I was meditating, I kept getting a message in my meditation saying, you need to move. I was in LA at the time. It was saying, you need to move back home, move to Michigan. I'm like, move to Michigan? I'm in LA, girl. I'm having a good time. No. And I was ignoring it, but it kept saying, you need to go back home. Right. So I said, all right, I literally put all my stuff in storage. I moved back home, and I was with my dad every day for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, until he passed away. Remind you, he wasn't sick. It was like a pulmonary embolism.
Oh my God.
So it was unexpected, right? But because of that meditation and because of that connection, I was able to spend his last days with him. Like, and it was beautiful, right? So after that, I was like, okay, I'm hooked on this. I'm gonna go deeper into it. So I kept picking up more books by like Wayne Dyer, Deepak Chopra, because he talks about him a lot, and I just started going down like that path. Wow. And never turned back, and now I'm like full-blown conspiracy girl.
I love it. Aww.
Yeah.
And that's amazing too. It's like, really, people have to go with those impulses, because then a lot of times people don't trust them. And then you usually, if you don't listen to your impulse, most of the time you're going to regret it. Like, even if it's something silly, even if it's something like driving isn't one. Like, sometimes you get an impulse driving, and then you're like, now why did I do that? I just freaking cracked my rim, you know? Like, that's,
exactly.
Even down to small things like that. Like,
it's true.
It's so good to listen to them.
Absolutely. I agree. Couldn't agree more.
Aw. And then, so when were you in LA? When did you leave LA?
I would say like this was a while. This was years ago. This was like maybe 7 years ago or something. Because I left LA, went to Michigan. I was there for like a month and a half, and that was it. That's what that was for. So once my dad passed, I said, okay, I know why I was here. Well, I'm gonna get out of here now, and I ended up moving to Atlanta.
Oh, cool! Very cool. So that's where you were at before Sedona.
Yep, I was in Atlanta.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. So then you got moved to Sedona, and it's like,
exactly.
And then you just felt it one day. You were like, I'm
same
gonna
vibes.
Go.
Exact same vibes. After that, like, I feel like for me, how deep I was into religion, I needed something, not saying like, I'm not saying that was the reason my dad died. That sounds horrible. But I'm saying like, for me to become to a believer, I guess, or to say, you know what, there's something else out there. It had to be something so big, because I was so indoctrinated. Like, girl, I was in the church every 5 days a week. Like, I was like
Really?
yes. So it had to be something like a life-changing experience to get me out of that. So once that happened, I was like, oh, anytime I feel a nudge, a hint of intuition, like, I'm going for it. I'm not going to question it.
Aw, I love that.
Yeah.
And then your life really starts to come into the life that you're supposed to have when you listen to that.
1,000%. Like, I feel my life is so much more fulfilled than if I was like doing what like my life plan was.
So tell us about your store and how that started.
Yeah, so Gemzy, it's my crystal shop. And honestly, I started it because I'm really big on like sustainability, the environment. And during the pandemic, I just like started TikTok like everybody else. And I was like, I was showing my crystals and I was talking about consciousness, and people would say, oh, where'd you get that? And thinking back, I always traveled. So if I went to Peru, I would be like, what kind of crystals do y'all have? Serpentine? Let me get that. Like, I was getting them like direct from source from those people. So I wanted to be able to recommend like an ethical shop or a place that I knew like, oh, you can get it from here. But I couldn't really find it online because everything was shut down. So I was like, you know what? I can start my own thing. And that's how
Wow. Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
And you always have really nice stuff. Like the stuff that you post is so pretty. But I think that's also why it's a good shop, because it's like not your regular crystals. You like pick out good ones.
Yeah, and a lot of it's funny because thankfully, because we all go through things for a reason. So because of my background, like as a Baptist Christian, I and a lot of my friends are still, you know, like we're still really cool. But I understand a lot of people don't believe in like the metaphysical properties necessarily. So I market to both. Like, I let you know what I believe intuitively the properties are and what research says, you know, in that world. But also, if you want to just buy the crystals because they're beautiful, then that's a thing too. And it's funny because sometimes my things get on the wrong side of TikTok, and people are like, "You're a demon. You're going to burn." And I'm like, they're like, well, crystals are demonic, and I'm like, having to explain that it's no
Why
more.
Why would the earth create a demon rock?
It's
Why would that happen?
It's neither like inherently good or bad. Like, is a tree good or bad? It's like, so I always try to frame it like it's your intention. It's what are you doing? What is your intention with this? Because you can make anything become something that is just like wreaking havoc on other people. Like, it doesn't take a crystal to do that.
And so
and like, someone really is saying hella crystals and many Bible verses, and that's true. Like,
that's so true.
Yeah, like Aaron, I think it was Aaron, or like the high priest in the Bible. They were there were specific instructions about which crystal needed to be placed where. Like, they would wear crystals into battle for protection. So yeah, it's true.
Have you done videos on the crystals in the Bible?
I haven't.
You don't know if you want to end up on that side of TikTok that can kind of go both ways.
You know what? Like, I feel like I'm at the point where I don't want to convince anyone of anything. So like, I feel like if my intention is to convince people, no, they're not bad. They're not, I promise they're not bad. Like, I don't have the energy for it, you know, like, and if I could find a way to do it from a place of just genuine love for it and say like, oh, did you know? But I feel like if I did it, it would be coming from trying to prove my point, and I just don't care enough. Like,
and you know what? That's why your videos are very uplifting, and I love seeing them, because you're not. If you're like, if you know what, if I'm not in the right place to present this message right now, I'm gonna wait for this message.
Yeah, exactly. It has to be aligned. Everything in alignment.
It's true. And I like, I'm not a Bible person, even though I did grow up like Catholic. I had to like, you know, do my sacraments and stuff that they make you do as Catholic, you know, but I never really was like, it was kind of like my mom had forced me to, and I was always the person that was in Sunday school. Like, so what about people that never learned the 10 Commandments? Do they go to hell because they didn't know?
That's what, and they had an answer for, or not really an answer for everything. Did you notice? It would be like, you just need to pray more. And it's like, just tell me the answer. Stop playing games. Like,
well, mine, they did. They said, well, if you didn't know, then you wouldn't go to hell because you didn't make a consciously bad decision.
Oh,
And
where
I was
would you
like,
go?
I'm like, well, so then why are you teaching us? You're
Maybe
increasing our chances of going to hell.
ignorance is bliss in this case.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, well, then why would you teach us this? And I would always ask those questions. Like, I
Yeah.
even got like, they failed me in Sunday school. I actually got left back in Sunday school,
I
which I
didn't
was
realize
really
you
annoyed
could.
about.
I didn't know you could fail. That's the first I've ever heard of
I
that.
didn't know either.
They made
I
it
was
up
always
just for
asking.
you.
I was always asking about, I'm like, so do people that were born into other religions, do they just go to hell? That's really messed up. Why would
Yeah.
God let someone be born into a religion that they're going to be going to hell? Why would that
That's
happen?
one that stuck with me. Like, I couldn't get past that either. And one of my best friends is an Indian girl, and she's Hindu. And when my father passed away, it's very interesting because I grew up in the church. I knew those people in the church. That was like my church family, right? But her family took better care of me than anyone in the church did. And they brought me they were like, you're coming to stay with us. Like, they brought me into their home until my family could fly in. And they like took such good care of me.
Aww.
And I'm like, yeah, something's not adding up. No way these people are going to burn. These are the good people. Like, these are,
exactly.
it just didn't, I couldn't make it make sense.
And that's the thing too, is I think all religions have truth in them.
Yeah,
I think all the religions are actually, when you look at it, saying the same thing.
They're saying exactly. They all, yeah. I think it'll be really cool. I don't know, maybe someone's done this, but if there was like one, like, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but if someone came up with like a book or something that kind of like laid out the similarities, because you're right. If you take out like the names and the places, it's the same message pretty much.
It's all the same. And
yeah.
I do think that Christianity is the one that does get a little bit different, just because there's a little bit of, the power that kind of comes into it too, because a lot of the other religions, they do feel like, basically they don't say the other religions are wrong.
Yeah,
Christianity is the only one that really
more accepting. Yeah.
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 But I didn't really grow up around that. Like,
yeah,
being Catholic is so light, Being Catholic is so like, you're basically just doing rituals and like, that's it. Like,
okay, so I did make a TikTok about that, how it was like kind of like jokingly, but like how Catholics are doing constantly, you're burning Palo Santo in the church, you're holding hands in a circle, you are drinking
the blood of Christ.
It's like,
it's real ritualistic.
These are rituals, you guys. These are rituals.
But I think that's also why there's a little bit more of a transition for people that are Catholic to other types of things, because they're already used to like rituals and stuff. And also, I think the biggest thing with maybe why I didn't really realize, I kind of thought it was all like an umbrella of like Christianity until I came to TikTok, because I've always lived in New York, LA. I grew up in Jersey City. So like, I didn't grow up really around like true Christian communities.
Okay.
And it wasn't, and then also a lot of the people that I knew were living in cities. So really it was not until I went on TikTok and talked about the Antichrist did I find out the wrath. I did not know. I had no idea. I was like, and also I didn't realize what Jesus saves meant. It's so, I swear, sometimes I'm like so intelligent with certain things and completely have I'm like, oh, so I just found out Jesus saves means like from the rapture. Yeah. I was like, oh, so I was always wondering, saves what?
Have you ever heard of that series Left Behind?
I just heard about this because of all the people who were talking about the 5D causing trauma for them. And so I was initially triggered. And I was like, well, they're completely different, because
I saw that video. I saw what you made. Yeah.
One is God is telling you basically that you're going to burn or not. And the other one is your own personal choice of whether you want to live a better life or not for yourself. And you want to make those choices in your life to live better. And I'm like, so how are they the same?
Yeah.
But then I had talked to a couple people and they explained to me the Left Behind movies. And
I'm still traumatized.
I
So
don't
for anyone that's
blame it.
watching that doesn't know, Left Behind was like a series. It's a book series, child. They made a kids version of it. It's based on the book of Revelations, and the concept is the rapture. And essentially, if you basically people wake up one day, this is what they showed you in the movies. Clothes, like, so say your parents got raptured and you didn't. Your parents' clothes would be laying in the spot where they were, like, so they're just getting snatched out of their bodies. This is what they showed me in, like, when I was like a child. And so, like, there was like a scene where there was a plane, right? Half the passengers on the plane, including the pilot,
Oh my
snatched out of his
God.
clothes. And so, like, this is the picture they're painting, right? So the rest of the world is like left in shambles, obviously, right? They're trying to figure out what's going on. And then there's a few people behind who are like, this is really crazy now that I'm thinking about it. There's people behind who knew the message, right? They knew, oh, I never paid attention. I should have paid attention. So now they're going back to try to save everyone else because they're saying, we have one more chance. We have to spread the news. And I still to this day wake up like, oh my gosh, is my mom going to be snatched out of her clothes?
See, I just recently heard this, that someone else literally said that they would wake up and be afraid if their mom was at the store.
Yes.
They were so afraid because they thought that they were getting left behind. I'm like, that is so horrible to teach that to kids. That is so sad.
But it's not funny at all.
No, it's not funny, but it's also like we sometimes gotta laugh at our trauma because otherwise. But I'm like, that is so sad.
It's crazy. So wait, I wanted to know, because you just brushed over this and you can't brush over it. Tell me, if you're comfortable, what you were saying about your grandmother,
Oh yeah.
who was like, what was she into?
So, she was gypsy. I know that word is, a lot
No,
of
but I
words
know,
that
like
were once used are no longer acceptable, but I really don't know what else to say.
No, an actual gypsy. I think it's okay to say
actually,
it when
yeah. And so, and from like the Czech Republic, and basically, so she was more like into that. And, like a lot of the psychic places and stuff, a lot of those people are gypsy. So it was more like that type of magic, like gypsy lineage
like
type of stuff.
Mediumship type thing?
More, well, I don't know how much of the mediumship was happening, but it was a lot of rituals, hexes. So I know a lot of hexes. We just
I'm
like
like
my
here
whole
for the hexes, low key. I'm like, hexes.
I know. And I won't tell anyone how to do them, but like just like weird things that we all know just because like we had seen them happening, and I don't know why we all, for some reason as kids, knew how to do it. None of us would.
So were they effective? Was her like rich? They were effective. Wow.
They were effective. One of the people that she had done it to, she gave them a troll, like a little troll doll that was, and it's a more like object magic, like where they put the like curse basically into the object and give it. And so someone's saying is Romani the word. So Romani's kind of, it is the word for gypsy people, but also because my grandma was from Czech Republic, she was actually like Czech, so it's a little bit complicated. But but the Romani people are basically the people who are the main population of them, of gypsy people. And so, there was just a lot of hexes. And I had talked about this on my YouTube channel, but I'll tell you briefly. So when my parents, this was my dad's mom, when my parents were getting divorced because my dad was with another woman, my grandma took my mom so my grandma was also very, she had a lot of connections to people who were like Haitian voodoo priestesses. Yes. So she did the gypsy stuff, but then also she was very connected to people. Yeah. So she took my mom to this Haitian priestess, and they did a ritual on my dad that my mom did not really want to be involved in. So my mom is Catholic. My mom is not on that side of the family. She got kind of like pulled into it. So they took my dad's sock. They did a ritual, put some cow's blood, put it in a jar. And then my mom had to break the jar when she was alone and finish the ritual. So my mom was like, there is no way I'm finishing this ritual. I'm so scared. So we kept the jar, the voodoo curse jar of cow's blood, in my house for 18 years. We lived with it. because my mom didn't want to break it. So we literally, and then, so my mom was scared. So she bought a giant velvet painting of Jesus. It was like floor to ceiling, and put it next to the closet that the jar was in. And let me tell you,
I love your mom.
that painting of Jesus was scarier than the jar. I was more scared of the painting of Jesus because I literally felt like everything I was doing was wrong. I would like walk by.
He was watching.
But we also knew it wasn't really like for us. It was mostly just a barrier between us and the jar.
The jar was protection. Yeah. Oh, it was like showing your intention. Like, look, I had nothing to do with this jar.
Yeah. And then we left the jar in the house when the house got knocked down. So
it's definitely haunted. That land is haunted now.
Oh yeah, it definitely is. And there's other people where there was these curses that were fully finished and they did get ill and they were fine after they got rid of the objects. And that's kind of also too.
You know what? You just saying that, a friend of mine the other day called me and said that she's telling me a story about how this man cursed her, and she's very dramatic. So I was like, girl, please, she's like, no, I need you to look at this. What is this? He told me this was a crystal. And I'm like, you took a crystal from a strange man that you kind of had like a low-key beef with. Obviously he cursed you. Like, I don't know anything about curses, but I'm like, you don't take crystals from anyone. So she did get rid of it, but she said she got sick. She said when she took it, and he kept insisting that she wear it. And he kept saying, you should wear it. I can put it in the jewelry. Do you want it? And he wanted her to wear it so badly. And she did, and she got sick. And then once she got rid of it,
and I do believe in mind over matter. So I personally believe that, like, I can't be cursed or hexed.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. But I also am a little, like, I wouldn't even just take, like, I'm not even taking energy from people in that sense. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm careful about those things, but I agree. Like, if someone were to, like, sneak in my house right now and place something under my pillow, like, I'm protected. Goodbye. I have black tourmaline everywhere in this house.
Exactly. And it's also your energy and your belief. I don't know if, did you see this whole thing that's going on with, like, Nicki Minaj and Azealia Banks with the witchcraft? And
I saw a little bit of it, yeah.
I mean, Azealia Banks is like literally like the most entertaining person in Hollywood. So, but her saying that, like, basically telling Nicki Minaj that someone else put a curse on her, and then Nicki goes on her podcast, starts talking about it. And then Azealia Banks posts laughing, saying, no one put a curse on you, and saying that basically the greatest witchcraft is making someone believe that there's a curse on them.
Of course.
But I'm like, well, you incepted her. You did. She now believes she's cursed. Yeah. And she was pissed.
It's true, though. I think it goes back, like, to what we were saying about, like, your sovereignty and your power. So you're absolutely right. Because, like, your thoughts create your reality, not in a sense of, like, just one thought, but a consistent belief over time is powerful.
And I'm a big believer in the reality. I honestly feel like the reality hacking is getting a lot. I'm like, I'm knowing too much here. Like, I'm knowing too much.
Yeah.
I'm gonna buzz off this planet soon.
Like, yeah, like I'm always checking. I'm like, did they come and get her yet? Let me look and see on her page. Did they get her? Did they take her away?
I have the weirdest issues with TikTok. I'm like, because yeah, you can think like, oh, they're suppressing my account, but then at the same time, I'm like, are they using my account for an experiment? What is happening here? Like,
I was gonna say, wait, let me turn off this like fireplace because now I'm like really hot. Hold on, I don't need it anymore. I'm warm. Okay, so I was gonna say, I feel like your account does really well, and you are giving us the tea, and I'm like, wow, this is good. Like, they're letting this happen.
You know what I think it is too? Because I've also noticed that, like, when I see other people that have like about the same size of following that I do, they have like 20 times more likes than I do. Like, cause you know, it'll show like the likes on the top. And I'm like, huh. And I'm like, you know what? I feel like I have been more likely to like convert the person watching into someone who's going to come back and watch again. So I feel like that's partly why I do well, because I feel like it's a lot of the same people. And I feel like because I do the series, people are like, well, let me go check. Whereas
invested.
like maybe some other people, they don't check on their page.
Yeah. Because it may just have been like a viral video and they're just like, okay, that was fun. But we're invested. I need to know. I want to know your next theory. I want to know everything.
It's been like amazing. And right now I'm doing the Dimension series. So it's like, that's more new information to me. Like I know about dimensions, but I really don't know any of the technical stuff. So what now exploring that, I'm like, my mind is getting blown.
I really like, what I like about your account is that you don't lead with fear. Like you will give us information and it's a little spicy, but it's not like, I'm not going to have, I can watch your videos and not have nightmares like before bed. And I think that's cool because a lot of the information I'm interested on from other like TikTokers too, but y'all are scaring me. Like this is too much. So I like that you always like give the information, but then you'll give us like a brighter outlook, or you don't ever present it as like, this is fact, this is 100. You're like, well, what do you think? Like you make up your own mind.
And I mean, I'm really seeing, especially because we see what's happening in the spiritual talk. It's craziness. They want each other's heads. It is craziness. I'm just like laying low. I'm like, I don't comment on anything. I don't have anything to say about this issue or this person. It's none of anyone's business how I feel about this or this person. But it definitely, it has kind of made me a little bit more aware because I do watch TikTok, but I don't think I see as much of like the spiritual content as other people, maybe because like my sister and other people that I know in real life send me things. So I think my algorithm is a little bit all over because I get sent so many things that are not related to spirituality. So if anyone sees my comments out there in the TikTok world, I'm always commenting on like nothing of the spiritual world. I'm like invested in someone outing a cheater. Like people find me in the weirdest depths of TikTok. Like I'm like, what did I just watch? So I didn't realize that there was so much of like the fear stuff. But like I said, it's
a lot of it.
A part of it.
When you get into like the more of like the conspiracies, it definitely. And again, I think some of it too is the algorithm feeds, like it likes that like music, like the really, really creepy music. So I get it. People, so people will use it because I get it. It'll help the views. But then it's like now I'm watching the video on mute because I'm too scared to hear the music and I'm reading the
Yeah, and I don't usually use the music either. I've done it a couple times, but I don't usually use it just because, you know, it's
terrifying. Like I'm in the bed trying to get the information. And I look outside. I'm in Sedona already. So I'm like, oh my God, they're coming to abduct me right now as we speak. The music is calling them in. Like,
oh my God. And, you know, I realized too, like, you know, like what we were saying before is that like there's a part of everyone's spiritual journey that is super polarizing. You know, like you do go through that stage where you either get super scared or get fixated on like dark topics or get fixated on certain really messed up conspiracies, you know? So I feel like it is a part of everyone's journey, but I just feel like a lot of people are getting, and I got scared out of my spiritual journey at a time too. I got tripped out on the 5D stuff once.
You did?
I did. And so there was years ago, I think it was maybe 2015. There was a news story and it got into my awareness because 2 people went missing allegedly to 5D. And it was on like the actual real news in like 2015. These 2 people were looking for them. The car was left behind, the keys, the everything, the wallets. They didn't take a single thing with them. They couldn't be found anywhere. They've never been found, these people. It was a girl and a guy. I think they were somewhat in a relationship. Something ship, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And like they told a bunch of people like, that's it, we're going to 5D, it's done, like that's it, we're done here, we're going to 5D. And people were concerned that they were having psychosis. And then no one ever found them. I don't personally believe they went. I don't think that was what happened. But I saw that, and then one of my friends was, and I was like aware of 5D. I didn't know what I know now. At the time, it was kind of just like that the understanding that a lot of people probably have when they
Yeah.
talk about 5D, where they say it's so dangerous and all of these things. I'm like, because you probably haven't actually looked into it.
Yeah, exactly.
But so I was in that kind of like peripheral way where I knew about it, but I didn't really dig in. And then I had a friend who kind of started saying the same thing. And he was like, it's time. We're going to 5D. It's time. And then he was like, and you're my soulmate. And I'm like, well, wouldn't you be mine? Wouldn't you be my soulmate if this was what was happening?
Yeah, like,
wouldn't I feel the same way if that was the case?
yeah.
And then I freaked out and I was like, don't talk to me anymore. And then I was like, gosh, all these people, I'm afraid I'm afraid of this 5D shit. This is crazy people talk. And I also had a lot of other weird things happen spiritually around that time because I just was like learning so much information. I learned about reptilians. I learned about that stuff. That's all really scary. And then I was just like, I needed to like stop. And I was like, even like afraid to like meditate for a while. Like I was like,
happens. You're right.
And I think it's normal. It's for
part
the
of
process.
Your journey. Because it's so much. There's so much information. And the deeper you go, I think at some point you almost have to stop yourself to say, let me take a step back. This is a lot. Let me process because it's a lot. It's never ending.
It is. And I think that's kind of the thing that happens when people become content creators in that field. How do you pull back? Because your whole identity is now attached to it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's crazy. And it's interesting that you said that. So I was watching something, it was on Gaia. And I just found this new series. If y'all are, so Gaia is like, I call it like the spiritual Netflix, basically. So I was watching the series. It's called like ET Encounters or something. I don't know, but it's basically like the whole series is a guy interviewing people who channel interdimensional.
Oh,
you know it?
It's interviews with EDs.
Yeah.
I love it. Oh my God,
yeah.
I gotta tell you all my favorite episodes.
Okay, so I just found this a few days ago, right? And again, I'm one of those people like you. I go in and out. Once I start getting too deep, I'm like, let me pull back. So there was a period of time when I was like very deep into like channeling and like I wanted to hear everyone who was ever channeling anyone. So I took a break from that. I'm back on it. So I was watching the show, and did you see the one? There was like a benevolent reptilian.
Yes.
Was it the one that
a guy? There was two. There was one where like a girl who used to be Mormon channeled reptilians, and then there's the guy. He was like a little bit of like a bigger guy.
Yeah, and he had the reptilian has the craziest voice.
I know.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I remember from that interview, it was that he said like that these like benevolent reptilians want humans to basically view them the way that they used to be before some of them went off path. They're like, we used to be so highly regarded and now we're not. And I'm kind of like, well, you know,
you sure aren't.
Problem.
You don't have a great rep here.
Yeah. I'm like, well, then you should have stepped up, bro. Stop telling us how to feel.
Where were you?
But there is obviously benevolent of every being and species and type of everything. And I also do at this point of my journey believe that the whole reptilian thing is a lot of times another part of ourselves, another version of ourselves that is actually like provoking us to ascend. Because a lot of times when people have those scary experiences, it's like their ascension process skyrockets.
Yeah. I'm hoping I don't need that for mine to evolve. I'm not interested.
That's really on my side that people keep asking about the 24th. I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
The 24th. 24th. Okay,
that there is like some type of conspiracy or something on the 24th, guys.
September 24th?
I don't know.
There was one recently of like August. Was it like the 28th or 27th? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
That one was wild. It was like there was like there was like some binary numbers or something. Do you know it? And they were saying, I had to get off that side of TikTok. It was scaring me. But they were saying like basically we were going to 5D. And if you use this number, they were saying Google the number. So of course I Googled the number. And they were like, because they were like, we can't talk about it on TikTok. Like we can't talk about it. I was like, I gotta see. But I didn't really find out much. But it was just one of those things like you're gonna ascend. But this freaked me out actually. I found a Reddit thing, and I just was like, delete, get off, good night. But they were saying, yes, a person I'm just scaring myself now talking about it. They were like, a person in a red coat or something is gonna appear at they were serious though.
It's like Bloody Mary.
It is. They were saying they followed a man or something in the red coat. Let me know if your people are saying they understand. But it was like a whole thing on TikTok. And I think it was
someone saying I didn't Google it because my discernment told me not to.
See, I should have listened.
And then I said, I think the number was sent to send people down their rabbit hole.
And it did. I was down it. I was deep in it. And yeah, and they were saying like that you're going to be, it was like, wow, it got to be too much. So I just got off of it. But that was like I think it was August though.
Wow. And I guess so what people are saying is that they're saying someone's saying that something's going to happen on the 24th. Guys, all of those things never really
What is it? What's happening?
Right? Like, it's kind of, I'm not a big believer of like those kind of things that get going on the internet like that. Yeah. Just because, you know, when you read a lot of like the books that were already around before the whole spiritual social media, none of them are really fear-mongering. They're very peaceful. They make you feel good.
Yeah. I think
that's, like Wayne Dyer. You never read Wayne Dyer and feel worse after.
I think that's a really good point. Like, how do you feel after consuming certain information? And like what that person said about using their discernment. Like, yeah, like honestly, I don't even want to watch content or consume anything. If I'm going to feel afraid or like on edge, I mean, and again, that could be something I need to adjust within myself and I'm not there yet. But I want to like consume things that are going to pour into me in a positive way. I'm not trying to scare myself and be like sleeping with all the lights on.
I mean, I'm definitely the type of person, it takes a lot for me to get scared ever since I was little, which is why I think I've been able to really gain a lot of this messed up information about the world. Because too, like, you know, I only really like will show up in a way that is like bringing positive information. But amazing. Through text or through privately, we'll talk about the crazy stuff. Like,
so what do you do? Like, if something gets to be like really overwhelming, what do you do? Do you have like a practice or something that you do?
Yes. So specifically, I had to do this practice one time about the reptilian issue. I was watching someone who I do really like them. They're a YouTube creator in the spiritual world. I do like them. I don't resonate with them all the time. Mm-hmm. But there's definitely some things that I really like. And also I can listen to things where I don't agree 100%.
Right. I like to do that too. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I would rather know than take someone else's word for it.
Yeah.
So this person had done a lot of stuff talking about reptilians, good and evil, all of these things. And it just really like, I feel like you can absorb another person's fear. So when someone is projecting fear, you actually can absorb it into your energetic field. And now you have a fear that's not even your own. You literally absorbed another person's fear.
Yeah.
And I was not having that. I felt it. I felt the fear of the person in the video. I absorbed it and it was sitting with me. And like for the next couple of days when I was going to sleep, I was like closing my eyes and I was feeling like I was scared of something. And I'm like, no. I've gone far down this path already. I'm not going to be scared right now over something that I heard or saw on a video. Not like if I saw it in my own eyes, it'd be one thing. But like if I saw it, someone else talking about it. So there's this thing, it's called blowing roses. I learned about it in that Pleiadian book that I found in Mount Shasta. And it's also, they talk about it in some like certain types of like witch ceremonies, different types of, I don't know what type of like practitioner would do this thing, but it's also somewhat talked about in that world. And basically, they say that roses, what they represent, like the frequency of roses, is a good place to neutralize certain things. So what you do is you meditate, you get yourself relaxed into your meditative state that you feel good and deep. And then you basically visualize your field around you. If you can't feel it, literally just make one up, make a shield around you. And then you see outside of that shield is a rose. Now that rose could be whatever color that represents the person or the thing. So like say someone did a lot of emotional dumping, and they like basically like dropped their whole thing, and now you're holding on to their problems. They're skipping around because you've already just eaten all their problems, and now you don't know how to get better because you're worried about them and all of this stuff. And so same thing. It could be towards a person, towards a thing, towards an event, could be towards anything. I did it towards reptilians because I was really feeling that after that video. And this is a couple years ago when I did this, but it works, and I do it for different things all the time. And basically, so you visualize like your field, and then you see a rose outside, and whatever color that rose is, you'll know for that person. So for me, this was a black rose for the reptilians. And basically you visualize the person like in the rose in a way, like projected somehow as the rose, in the rose. So you see the rose, you see the person as the projection, you see that they're outside of your energetic field. And then in your mind, you literally go through and suck out anything, and then it goes back into the rose, it gets neutralized, and then you basically, you're going to feel like you've removed that from your body. It's inside the rose now. And then you basically just set the intention of like, I'm going to send this has been neutralized. Thank you for the experience. I'm going to return the energy. If the person wants the energy back, they can receive it neutralized. If not, then give it to the earth. And you basically, then they say too, you can visualize the rose basically just going like out of your thing, see it going like out into the world, out to the sky, wherever, just like getting really far away from you. And honestly, every time I've done that, even I've done that with like maybe friendships that had to end. Sometimes I'm like, oh, this is a lot. I'll do the same thing. I'll do blowing roses. I'll send the energy back, because what it says in the book, which I think is very interesting, that, so, you know, in a lot of sometimes like Wiccan practices and stuff, they have like these things where it's like, what you do to me will come back to you 3 times. And it's like a type of thing. Now, when you do that, you're engaging in psychic warfare. You know, it actually is psychic warfare. And if people want to do that, sure. But know what you're doing. Don't think that you're protecting yourself when you're actually a psychic aggressor now.
Exactly.
So this is a way to do it without engaging in psychic warfare. You neutralize it back.
You're transmuting it.
To reintegrate back with their energy that they dropped on you. Or maybe they don't even want it.
I love that. I love, like a lot of like crystals, my protective crystals, I'm always like, yes, this is a great crystal to transmute the energy, because I'm not, you're right. It's still, you still have that universal law, like what you put out. Just because someone gave it to you, you're still, now you're going to repeat the cycle, and you're starting a whole thing. Like,
and then if that is the thing, if it becomes back times 3, then you're going to get 9 times back as much.
It's just going to keep going until someone says, you know what, let's neutralize it. Let's be done with it.
Exactly. And then too, you know, because of, like I said, with my past with my grandma, like, I also know that, like, at least from what I saw with my own eyes, was that engaging in that type of stuff is horrible on the body, because you're basically, and I know some people have disagreed with me on this, but I genuinely believe that when you engage in certain things, you have to offer something. It's not free. And you think it's free, but actually it's because our human force, the force of life that we have, that spark of God that is inside of us, is worth so much. So you are giving, you have your daily energy that you get from sleeping, eating, that, and then you have your life force energy, and that is not rechargeable. So you're giving part of yourself.
Everything is an exchange. So nothing, you can't just be like, oh, you're hexed, good luck with that. It's like, you've given something is, you know,
it's true. And that's why, you know, I don't go on to witch talk much, because it is so toxic. Oh my God. If you venture into witch talk, I'm like, get me out of here. Why are they all hexing each other and calling each other out?
I don't know. I feel like my algorithm is really on point. Maybe it's trained, because I do get like, though I get the nice side of witch talk. I get like the garden witches. I get like the
fairy witch.
I get the positive witches. And so maybe it's just like anything else, where like certain people have like given things a bad name, because you can go on Crystal Talk. I didn't realize until maybe a year ago, because someone was like, I became friends with people and they were like, oh my gosh, are you seeing all this Crystal Talk drama? And I'm like, That's a thing? What's happening?
You're like, how is that possible? What are they
with
fighting about?
crystals, but it's a thing apparently. So,
but you know what it really is it comes down to a lot of people just trying to undermine others. And that's what so much of these things are. They'll stitch someone's video just to undermine people. And it's like, you know what? Just move on with your life.
I can't. Like,
please.
Too much.
And the only time I don't get much on my For You page. What it is like if there is some drama, I feel like my algorithm knows I'll take a little sip of the tea. I'll take a sip of the tea.
It'll come across because it's like that's still your world and you're like such a big person in that community that it's like, do you want to engage with this? Take a look at it.
Yeah, and I was like, I'll watch silently and keep my opinions to myself. But like even like the pink sauce drama and stuff, like my algorithm.
Oh, I did.
My algorithm was like, let's give her a taste, see if she'll take it. Oh, she'll take it. And then it was it. That was it. Then it was pink sauce all day.
I was deep in the pink sauce.
Honestly, why does TikTok got to tear women down like that? Like, okay, yeah, it wasn't the end of the world. It was sauce. The same nasty sauce that you guys are buying from the store right now. Like,
it was so crazy. I think one thing I love about TikTok is like how the smallest little thing can become like everyone has an opinion on it, and you see how divided people can be over like this small, like it's wild to witness.
You're so right. They could be the smallest thing that some random person says in a video that like ripples. But you know what? I mean, and I try not to come off that way, but I just feel like if that's the only thing that people have to contribute is calling people out and piggybacking off of drama, then I'm like, then make your bed, lay in it. I mean, exactly. I'll peek in at your drama. I'll take a look.
Yeah.
But I'll stay out of it.
Yeah. I think that's why I resonate with your content. So it's not divisive.
Yeah. And now I'm becoming more aware of how much the spiritual stuff is divisive, because I wasn't really seeing it until, also the alignments right now astrologically are for everyone to be arguing.
It's a lot of stuff. Yeah, that's why the Nicki and Cardi stuff is going on. But true. I wanted to ask you, because did you know a lot about Dolores Cannon, right?
Oh yeah, I'm the Dolores Cannon.
So let me ask you, because I don't know. My point of reference, and for anyone watching, Dolores Cannon is like, you could probably explain it better than me, but like an OG in this like spiritual, like, I don't know what you would call it, movement, but I don't have any experience directly with her content. So every time I'm watching an interview, someone says, oh yeah, Dolores Cannon said this, and they're constantly referencing her. So I tried, and she has like a lot of books, right? Like how many books?
Yeah, she has 17 books.
Okay, so I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to get into this. Let me find like a primer, like something that I can just start with. I downloaded like an Audible, like a book, and I got scared.
Oh, which book did you get?
I don't know, and I thought I picked like a really good one. I have to find the name of it, because I tried to pick one that
I feel like, did you get The Custodians? The Custodians is a little creepy, just because. I got The Custodians. It is creepy because the reader is creepy. That one creeped me out too, because the reader. Because it's, if you say that there's a scary Dolores Cannon book, and I've read like 15 of them, and a lot of them I have in the physical and the audiobook. The Custodians is the one book that I really I haven't been able to get through it. Because the reader, why do they do an ET voice at like certain parts of the story?
It's terrifying. I had to stop listening to it, and I was like, maybe if I just listen in the daytime, like sunny, it was still creeping me out. So I wanted to ask you, that's what I was going to say. What should I start with, or anyone watching, like what is a good like first Dolores Cannon book?
So Between Death and Life is the best one for, I think, so there's two. It depends kind of what your avenue of interest is. So Between Death and Life is kind of about everything. It's about soul selection, reincarnation, fairies, ghosts, God. She asks every question about like everything. Okay. What happens with people having bad lives? What happens to people like Hitler after they're dead and they go back to the other side? What happens? So it's like a lot of like crazy questions that she's just like, and it was one of her first books. So it's a little bit more like, in her later books, she's like, I don't give a shit. Catch up.
Yeah.
Like that's me in my series now. I'm like, well, catch up. Go watch the old ones. I can't go over it again. And so Between Death and Life is great for that.
Okay.
Or my other favorite introductory one is Keepers of the Garden, but that's like fully alien and the seeding of the planet, how
I
humans
want to see. That's my interest. Keepers of the Garden. Okay. That's where I'm at.
And that one is an easy read because the whole book is one subject. So it's one subject's whole journey of his whole hypnosis story of how he, and it's all one guy, and it's beautiful. It's amazing.
Okay. I knew, I was like, man, I really was so excited about the book, and I just got so scared.
And Custodians, I totally know. I was like, that one is like creepy. So
you know
no,
exactly
I do have to do a little Dolores defending because the constant hate towards this woman on this app is insane.
Oh, really?
And
see, I haven't seen it. I don't think I see a lot of those. I think you're right.
I get tagged every time someone says Dolores Cannon in a video. It shows up on my For You page. So it literally, the For You will not let me get past a Dolores hate video. It won't. It wants me so badly to engage with it and to start a fight. Because the algorithm is charged on negativity.
Of course.
I swear. They want me to see every anti-Dolores video that anyone has ever made. Because they're provoking me. But I do understand why there's a lot of people who are not into Dolores because there's so many people who never read a single Dolores book, some of which who we all know here on this app, who literally quote her, never read a book. They've watched a YouTube video from her. And now the thing with Dolores too, Dolores didn't do a great job of describing her own work because she was a hypnotist and her books are transcribed sessions. So when she's doing her YouTube videos and stuff were all great, but she's paraphrasing what the subconscious mind said. So even if you don't read the book, you're not getting what the actual wording coming from that person's subconscious mind was. And the subconscious mind always says it in a way that is neutral, not biased.
Yeah.
Doesn't say good or evil. Doesn't say, and also the other thing too, everyone talks about like with the New Earth stuff, that Dolores Cannon was the one who said everyone was going to be left behind. Literally, I've read in a video flat out from her book. She asks the person under hypnosis, she's like, well, isn't it cruel if there's going to be, what is the left behind thing? How would that happen? So she was not all like, well, get on board with my information or be left behind. And so her information is so skewed, especially on TikTok, because we know so many young people on TikTok like don't read, So they probably only watch YouTube videos.
Yeah, and I think with spirituality and just religion and anything in general, there's so much nuance and like context is key. So like you can't pick, you know what I mean? You kind of, if you really want to get a genuine understanding of something, it helps to like know your context and get, read the book or at least listen to it. So I think it is like TikTok isn't the best place for nuance because you have like 2 minutes to shove everything into one video. And I think it's just like human nature to want to like be skeptical about certain things, and people like to notice like tear down like their spiritual, like, I don't want to say leaders or teachers. And I think that probably stems from like a distrust of like religion. So a lot of people who are even into like Dolores Cannon or something, they have all this like religious trauma, and maybe like they felt like their leaders in the church or wherever failed them. So they're waiting for someone else to like show that pattern. And the moment they see that looks like that, they're like, she's one of them. Like,
Right. And it's crazy because it's also like, people don't realize most of the stuff that we're talking about in the spiritual community, she was one of the first people to ever publish.
Wow. I didn't know
many
that.
of the topics. Just because she had like 17 books and asked about everything. Like some of the books are over 700 pages. Like the books are
information. Huge. It's not, is it channeled? Is it like, I don't understand.
So it's hypnosis. So that's the other thing too. Dolores never got the information directly. This was from thousands of clients being under hypnosis. She compiled all the information from all of those recorded sessions and put them together by topic.
So I think I read or I heard in the custodians, some of the clients were remembering past lives. Is that?
Mm-hmm. So sometimes, usually when you do the hypnosis, most people will remember a past life first. Then they go through the death of the past life to their higher self. And then in the higher self state, they're able to ask any question that they want.
Wow.
And that's like crazy. To be able to ask your higher self questions is amazing.
Have you ever been hypnotized in that way?
I have done it. And I also am trained in it, but I don't do sessions. I only do it like on a social level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So have you remembered any of your past lives?
Oh my God. My past lives are so horrible. They're all horrible. I'm so lucky in this life. Like, really? You know, like when I was younger, I didn't think it was great in this life. I remember those past lives.
Seeing what you've been through?
Yeah.
Were all of your past lives on Earth?
So everything that I've remembered of like past life regressions were. What's even crazier, this is also information from Dolores Cannon, who she brought this information through. And then a lot of people want to smack her in the face. But she talks about imprints as well. So like imprints are really interesting because you could have a past life regression, believe and have all the emotions and experience of that past life. But if you continue to explore through hypnosis more of your origin of your soul, a lot of those people never lived that past life and they only downloaded it from the Akashic records. So you could literally download. So they say basically too, if you're a star seed or, you know, star origin, whatever, people really, the star seed is a trigger word on this app lately.
It is.
But everything, right, is a trigger lately. Yeah. But okay, yes, people who believe they have star lineage, some of those people, it might be their first life on Earth, but they could do a past life regression and remember a past life. And then you're like, well, what is true? So basically they say, if you've never lived on Earth before, you come here, and if you saw an argument and you're from a planet that doesn't even have violence or arguing or hate or anger, you could literally have a heart attack, go into shock, because imagine seeing a fight for the first time. Imagine you incarnate and you are in an abusive family and you've never been on Earth before. So they say that a lot of times, and even if not only people who are from star origin, whatever life you're about to live, you could go to the Akashic records and basically like pick out all the files and take those files so that you have some type of
reference point,
background. Yeah. So you can assimilate better into.
That would make sense too. And I mean, just having DNA too, maybe that's part of it. You know, they say like our DNA has memory. So maybe you're picking up on things that weren't necessarily even your experience.
And I think that's why too, a lot of people remember traumatic past lives. Because it's probably, that's the trauma that's in the DNA.
I think so. Like, you're onto something for sure. Because, okay, so I did a few past life regressions. And, well, I did one with someone, like a trained person. And my take on, like, this past life regression is he was, it was great. It was a great experience. But I don't know if I would say it was, like, a literal thing where I believed that this happened to me, or if it was something my subconscious needed to process and heal from something, right? So however I whatever I think of it, I'm not sure, but I know it was helpful, so I don't really care. Like, it helped me get through what I needed to get through. But I have always had the feeling, and I'm not like, I'm a star seed, I've always had the feeling I was special. Not on that level. It's like actually comical how bad I am at being a human. Like, I feel that I make such crazy mistakes that I don't feel a lot of people make. And so I always joke with myself, like, this must be my first time here, because I am naive. I'm so naive to a lot of things about human nature. Like, it is taken for me to be hurt by so many people to understand, like, oh, people are capable of this.
Wow.
Because I couldn't see that for myself. Like, I couldn't see myself behaving in certain ways. And I'm like, when someone does something that I find like really like messed up, I'm like, oh, this is this is what y'all do here. Like, this is what, like,
well, I won't be back. I will not be
like,
returning to this establishment.
I would joke like, dang, like I'm too trusting, or I don't know what it is. Like I'm very naive about some certain things. And I did a past life regression on myself, just like it was a YouTube video. Okay.
Yeah.
Like I listened
and it
to
works.
YouTube.
You could do
it. And I'll share this with you. I had a vision, and again, don't know if it's literal, but I had a vision that I was like this purple, the best I could describe it is like a wave of light. Like almost like those, what is it, like the aurora, whatever thingies, like something like that on like a different planet. I felt like I was like this wave, right? And I was a wave, and I was like in a very futuristic city, and I was looking at the people in the city as a wave, and I don't know my purpose, but I was helping them somehow, right? And I remember feeling and being the wave and thinking, wow, that looks so fun. I wish I could do that. I was thinking, oh, look, they have families. They have other people. Like, I wanted to be one of them. Like, and I don't know if these were humans or people, but I remember feeling, wow, like that looks so cool. Like how they have community and they're like hanging out. And I would watch these people and I just loved the people. And so then what I tell myself now is like, when I came out of that, I'm like, you asked to be here. Remember, girl, you were the wave. You wanted to be here. So I'm always grateful of like, I have a body. Like I'm on this earth. I'm really in here. Like I'm walking on the earth. Like this is what I wanted.
Oh my God. So what I said to you in the DM that I had originally sent you was that you have like very like fairy energy.
Yeah.
Like it's so, and so I know how to do this Dolores Cannon's method of hypnosis. And I have done it on like different friends and stuff. And one of my friends, she has very like a fairy vibe. She loves fairy stuff too. When she went under hypnosis, she was a fairy in a past life. She is a fairy still. She's only projecting as a human. She's not a human. She's not going to be a human. She's never going to be a human. She's here right now. And oddly enough, there's a very similar type of thing where she was above the city and she was looking down, but there was destruction happening and the people were suffering. And it was like something happening, like some type of war or something. And then she was like, oh my God, like all those people are suffering. I should just go down there and just help them a little bit. And then she went down and like projected herself as a human to help them. And then got completely caught up in their problems, absorbed their problems. And then literally this is now, they say, like her second time as a human.
Back here.
Because she got caught in like karma through that other life where she was just trying to help.
Wow.
And it's so crazy too. Like, and I feel like there's like fairy people, you know, and who knows, you know, for sure what everything is. But the people that I know that have either in hypnosis found out they were fairies or have this kind of feeling that they kind of have like a lot of like similar qualities where like, yeah, they don't really like fit into the world, but it's not like in a way where they feel like an outsider. Yeah. They just feel like unique and fun and they enjoy how they are. And they're just very like, their nature, like their heart, they can't like a tree cracking, a branch cracking. They're like, oh God, I'm so sorry this happened to you.
That's me.
And like those little things, and that's what made me think of it was the video that you posted. It was so cute. It was like a deer eating your plant, your tree. And you're like, no. And then you're like, well, he's hungry.
I felt like, so bad.
And then you're like, okay, fine. If you're hungry, just eat. You can finish. Just eat the rest of my plant. It's fine. Yeah.
I felt so bad. I was like yelling. I was like, stop eating my bush. And then it looked over and I was like, oh my God, I'm so mean. Eat the bush.
You're like, I'm sorry. You were just hungry.
Yeah.
But he was going for all the flowers. He was just like chomping the whole thing down.
Oh my gosh, that stressed me out so bad.
And it's like that type of thing. And so what they say about like the fairies and stuff in that Dolores Cannon book, Between Death and Life, they say that basically they're like helper spirits and they are basically guardians. And there are different types of like beings, fairies, elves, all these different types of elemental type nature spirits. they all kind of have like a certain responsibility towards something. So either it'll be like they're very connected to trees, they're very connected to animals, and they kind of like love them all, but there's one
Yeah.
that's like
The
theirs that they have to
crystals.
watch.
Crystals for
Yeah.
me.
Crystals, you're right.
And that's
Exactly.
crazy because I'm like, it needs to be ethically sourced. We can't hurt the environment.
Exactly. And the same thing, my friends that from that hypnosis, like it really, she will go to the point. Sometimes I have to be like, you know what? It's okay. It's okay. You could use a one-time use plastic for this day. Okay. I think it's okay. You do
Yeah.
enough.
See, I'm not the plastic fairy. See, I'm like drinking out of a plastic bottle right now.
She can't do the plastic, and I don't blame her. The plastic is everywhere, but like I said, I'm more of a mind over matter person. So yes, I do make my effort to live a super healthy life, but like all of those things, when I first learned about healthy stuff, it's so polarizing to the point where you're afraid to eat or drink anything.
If you try to listen to everything, you literally can't. There's nothing. Everything will kill you if you believe what.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you really just need to be like, okay, my mind over my matter. If I am in a high vibrational state, if something that's not perfect for my body comes into my body, I'm in a good enough place that it's not going to develop into anything.
And I mean, even doctors know that. I mean, they will fight you on everything, but they will tell you any patient, like a patient that comes in, if you have two patients that come in with the same symptoms and the same thing, the one that is more likely to come out better is the one with the positive mindset. They know this.
So true.
They know that. True. So it's there's some truth behind it.
It's really crazy too. Like if doctors like can see that happening, why is it not incorporated into the practice? You know, which is it's all business and everything.
I feel like at this point, how are we not further along? I mean, I guess I get money capitalism, but I mean, how are we still mainstream society? How are we still questioning very basic things like even I mean, we've come a long way with like UFOs and ETs. I feel like it's definitely more mainstream. Like 70s, you were getting like thrown into like a freaking like insane asylum or losing your job. Like they were posting you in the local newspaper like crazy.
Right? Because you saw a UFO.
Yeah, so we've come like, but I just feel like I use the example all the time of like frequency, how we talked about, and like how a dog can hear things that we can't hear or sound certain. Like we know this, right? We know that humans have such a short, like can see such a short amount of like the visible light spectrum. We know this, it's proven. Why is it so far-fetched to believe that other things, other dimensions, other things exist with like right in our space, like
exactly. And I feel like part of it too, I feel like there's a lot of people who are these professors and these PhD people, and it's like they're, maybe like the scholarly people who are the people they listen to, they're so in their identity. Would they ever admit that their entire field of science is maybe no longer relevant one day from a new way? So it's like there's a lot of people who won't let go. And that goes the same thing with the capitalism, the money.
And you see what happens to those who do say, oh, something's not exactly what I was taught here. They like completely push them out. They're like, let's tuck you away. Yeah.
It's so true. And that's why, I love people like Joe Dispenza, because Joe Dispenza was just like, you know what? I don't care anymore. This is what I need to do. This is my purpose.
I'm out here.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a lot of people that are coming, and it's really like, the generation, our generation and the younger generation and everything coming through is like how it's going to happen. It's going to be the people bridging the two worlds.
I believe so. Yeah, I'm hopeful. I feel like, okay, people are like seeing, and I stand on the fact that I think like this pandemic was working towards everyone's highest good. I know like I'm not being sensitive. Like I know a lot of like people had loss, and I had loss personally too. So I'm not, brushing over that. But I think like, come on, like it just made things so clear. I almost think sometimes division is good. Like put it all out there in the open, shine some light on it so we can heal it. Because when these things are like done behind, like in the dark and no one knows about it, how can you heal something that you're not even bringing awareness to?
Exactly. And, like you're saying, like the division can be good in some ways. It's like, when you have the two extremes, that's the only way that you're going to find the middle of it, you know? So even though it feels like a lot is happening with polarizing, like left versus right, this versus that, everything is like so like, and it is a lot if you just like see it at face value. But then I'm like, how would we know what the boundaries are if people aren't willing to go to the extreme?
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm like, that's how we'll find the middle ground.
Yeah.
And, you know, you can always spin it in a way that is like, you know what, it's all working towards, because the universe knows.
Yeah, exactly.
There's already a successful...
yin and yang. Yeah, exactly. Yin and yang.
Exactly.
It's going to swing. Exactly.
And there's already a successful story of the universe completing itself.
Yeah.
And time is simultaneous. So like, I feel at the end of the day, regardless of like how messed up things might look, even if it does get apocalyptic, it's like, even if it does, that really is just like, you know, at the end going to be what propels the entire civilization.
Yeah, I agree. I'm so optimistic. I think everything for everyone's highest good always.
Yeah. And we already know. And sometimes, you know, we wouldn't have come here to Earth to live this experience if it was going to just be completely perfect. Because then
that
what
would
we
be
have learned?
It would be so boring. It would be like playing a video game on the easiest level over and over and over. You're like, okay, well, I needed a little challenge. Just a little bit, though. Gradually, a little gradual challenge.
Yeah. We will, at this point in our journey, we want those challenges to come with ease and grace. But
yeah, but it's not fun to just, you know, we want to grow. It's in our nature to want to expand and grow. And you can't grow without a little pressure, you know?
It's true. It's true. And that's why, too, even like any negative experience that I've had in my life, I feel now I'm like, okay, I understand what I needed to learn from that. I understand how that was going to push me out of my comfort zone, you know? Yeah. And a lot of times I hear things about like, oh, toxic positivity. I'm like, how is that more toxic than what you're doing by ripping people down?
I do not like that phrase. I made a whole TikTok about it. I can't stand it. It's ridiculous. Like, and I guess like, guess I kind of get it, but no, I don't, because like, bro, like, what is, like, I don't know. I feel like maybe that's one of those like chronically online things, I feel, where people find an issue with almost anything. And I'm like, how can positivity ever be? We're not saying be delusional and, you know, just don't heal and don't do your shadow work or whatever. But like, bro, like I've been depressed. I've had issues with anxiety. I know what it feels to be depressed. And then you know what I know does not work? Negativity.
Exactly.
I know that does not get you out of that place. Always like reaching for a higher, you know, emotion. So like, I don't know, like if I'm actually depressed, you want me now to focus on being depressed and not find things to be grateful for? It's wild.
It's bizarre. And then the fact that the conversation of toxic positivity itself is like, what are you contributing? That's what I feel a lot of times is like people, they poke holes.
Yeah.
And then leave with nothing. And then you find so many people that are psyched out on their beliefs. Now they're scared. Now they think that they're involved with something that's dangerous.
Solution? Okay, great. You have an issue. No problem. Let's contribute something that's going to help. Because don't just leave us with, like you said, like, oh, it's, you guys are so positive. Goodbye. It's like, well, what's the other option?
No solution, no nothing. Like a lot of times people are, like we were saying, like in like a spirit, everyone's like, a lot of people in the spiritual community, they're attacking each other on TikTok. And it's like, not one of these people who I've seen do a call out video or a stitch, I don't care how big of a creator they are, I've not seen one of them be uplifting after and pull people back out of the place that you just ripped them from. And this whole false light is another thing that I really hate, the conversation of false light, because all you're doing is psyching people out of their belief system and leaving them with nothing. You don't fill them back with more information or love. You literally rip their beliefs from them, tell them crazy things like archangels are demons, and people say crazy shit. You know, everyone thinks everyone else is channeling demons. Even in the spiritual community, they're worse than the Christians saying people are demons. You know?
I never understood what about, like, I couldn't put it into words, and I think you just expressed it perfectly. It's the fact of like, what is your intention also? Because if your intention if your intention is to genuinely uplift and help and build, then you would be careful how you're saying you're mindful of the content that you create, because you know a lot of information, but what is your intention with sharing it? Is it to scare people? Is it to just show I'm right? Like, I know more than this person, or I have the, like, is it jealousy? Is it you see this person as, you know, people are saying liking this person, and you're like, let's not like them anymore. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what?
And I feel like too, sometimes it's just like people get to a certain point. Like there's definitely some creators on this app that like they're totally fine. They don't do anything problematic or harmful or anything, and they just stick to their beat of their drum and post about their stuff. And still they're getting canceled for literally nothing. And I'm like,
really?
And that's exactly what you are saying, is it's kind of like, oh, we're just going to not like this person anymore, probably out of jealousy, because now they've grown to a point that now I don't like where they are. And now I want to tear them down. And it's like, poke holes and stuff. And especially with the spiritual stuff, because it's like people literally like there's faith, whether it's religious faith or spiritual faith or a combination of everything. That's what they find peace in. That's how they feel their purpose. Yeah. So when you literally just talk about stuff like false light, toxic positivity, all of these spiritual ego, spiritual psychosis, and sometimes, those things are real things that happen. But it's so much that it's like, what are you contributing? Because literally you're psyching people out on their beliefs, leaving them with nothing. And then a lot of these people, and I swear everyone that stitches these videos, offer services. Why did they all do readings? Every single hater on this app.
Why is the answer to go to that? Yeah, that's so true.
Because then it's like you psych everyone else on their beliefs, but then you do readings. And it's
that's
like,
so true. That's so true.
They want to call everyone else out. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's because it's an ego thing. It's like you said, it's an ego. Do you watch Regina Meredith on
I love Gaia? Regina.
Oh, I love that woman. She probably has me on her like stalker list, because I'm manifesting meeting Regina. She's like probably trying to keep me away.
Is she in Sedona too? She was for a
bit. She used to live here. See, why do I know that? Because I'm a stalker. But she used to live here.
I knew too, so it wasn't too bad.
California. She's back in California.
Oh.
But anyway, she had a guest on. I can't remember his name, and he said something so wise, and it was so true. It reminded me of what you said. He was saying that the real, or I'm going to butcher this, but like the true spiritual teachers are ones who point you to go inward. They don't tell you to follow them. They don't tell you, I have the answers, I have the way. They're the ones who encourage you to go inward. And I think what you just said about like how people are tearing other people's arguments down and then saying, oh, by the way, you can book a reading with me if you really want to get this connection. It's like, I guess maybe, but also like, just where is the content where you're just helping people to go inward and connect with themselves?
And it's also like I see a lot of like people saying like, oh, this is a dangerous rhetoric because someone has a different belief than you. How is that a dangerous rhetoric?
It's dangerous because you are keeping people from booking their services.
And that's what I think a lot of times. Like sometimes I feel, and like I'm very lucky that I have a very positive experience on TikTok. Yeah. I just recently found out that there's like this person who's apparently been saying all this stuff about me for months. I don't even know who this person was. So it's like I have a very positive experience. I almost never come across like, and I'm sure it's happening. But I think it is because I do occasionally.
You put out the energy you put out, and you're not even on that frequency. You're not looking for that. So even like you said, someone can literally be making videos about you. It probably won't even come on your radar because you're literally not operating in that world. Like
unless someone sends it to me, and then I'm like, oh wow, well don't. And I just like in the past, I've just been like, please don't ever send me anything like this again. I know that you had good intentions, but like, it's totally not my business. I really don't care.
Yeah.
Like, what do I care what someone is saying about me?
You shouldn't. You shouldn't care. You can't care. You can't even know. Like, I feel like you should treat, like, we should all treat our online interactions like I do. I treat it the same way of things that I'm trying to manifest. So if it's something I don't want more of in my life, no way am I giving it more attention. So if someone has a negative stitch, a negative comment, I'm literally not going to respond. I'm not going to engage with it because I'm not going to feed that energy. I don't want more of that. I'm going to put my intention on all of the positive comments, like all of the positive things. And I feel like it's really easy to get caught up in like the one thing, negative thing someone said, but it's like, do not engage.
And I don't know if you follow Felicia for the Win.
No.
She doesn't really do spiritual as much. She does a little bit more like on the psychology side, social experiment side. She's great. I really like her stuff. And she did a video about we're not designed for negative comments, because in the real world, if someone wants to say something, there's the potential for a physical fight, which is the reason why people don't. So they're not going to say it to your face because they don't.
No way they're going to say it. Not with the energy they would say it. Not with the boldness that they would say it online. You're absolutely right.
And she's like, this is the reason why we could get, and she has like a large following. So she's like, this is the reason why we could get so many positive comments, but that one negative comment is messing us up. And it's so true, because there's so few negative comments, at least I think with what we're doing, you know, because we're not engaging in the negativity.
Right.
But like, there's so few negative comments, but they really do stick out. And I was like, damn. So I always think about her video, because she's like, really, this is our body's response, because we can't fight, because we can't.
Yeah.
So we're kind of just like held with that energy. You're kind of like,
that's so true. I never thought about it, but you're right. People in real life, it's not going to be on that same energy, because it's never going to be on that.
And that's why we don't know how to handle it either, because then it's also like, there's nothing you can really do to the person.
Yeah, there's no, like, it's just like you're taking on this energy, and it's like, ooh, okay.
But I mean, I have to say though, I do think that even though TikTok can have like very toxic stuff going on, I still think it's like the most positive of all the platforms.
I think so, because I think, again, it's just like a broken record, but it's the energy you put out. So if you're putting out that, it's just the algorithm is so on point, it's going to give you more of that.
It's so true. So we're coming up on 2 hours here. This was so great. Shit. I'm so glad. Do you also do music? Did I see that you also are a musician?
I do, yeah. I'm a songwriter. I've been a songwriter for like before I ever started with crystals. So I write for like a lot of different TV shows and artists and all that.
Really? Yeah. Oh my God, that's amazing. Oh,
yeah.
That's so cool. It's so fun too to like kind of find out what people's like real life interests are.
That's my day job. That's what I've been doing professionally.
Oh, so then now you could do it remotely from Sedona.
Yeah, exactly. I've always been able to like record and just like send in songs to whoever needs them.
And are you a singer too?
I am. I do a little singing on the side.
I love it. Oh, so great.
This was so much fun.
I know. I'm glad we did this. I'm going to post it on my YouTube. Do you have a YouTube?
I'm starting one, and remember, you're going to be one of the guests.
Yes. And I'm excited. You're going to start your podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm excited. So everybody make sure we go follow, we go support your new YouTube podcast. This will be on my podcast, on my YouTube soon. I'll say tomorrow, but I don't mean tomorrow. A few days.
I get it.
Well, thanks so much. This was so good. And I want you to send me those videos that we talked about too, of the cross and everything.
I will. I'll text it to you.
Okay. Thanks so much. Have a good one. Bye guys.
Thanks for being
here.